Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining.
Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! Ja Morant! Insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies got 31 points from Jaren Jackson Jr., 27 from GG Jackson. Also, Ja Morant, by the way, with a 25-point, 11-assist performance. And they moved to 9-1 in their last 10 games. They're now 3-0 this year against the Spurs. They've beaten the Spurs in 17 of their last 18 matchups. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about the win over the Spurs. I'm going to talk about the injury report and also look ahead a tiny bit to Thursday's trade deadline. Before we get there, just a thank you to Greg Mitchell, the latest listener to sign up for my Patreon at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you enjoy these Grizzlies episodes, you want to help support the creation and also get bonus content and also be able to join the listener Slack channel, all of that is available. Patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right. This game, of course, the Grizzlies were shorthanded. Maybe the most significant story about this game, Ja Morant was available after missing the previous two games with a shoulder injury, despite ESPN saying on Sunday he couldn't lift his arm over his head. Well, he looked pretty good out there on Monday night. Ja Morant played. Also, we got the news that Desmond Bane, in fact, is injured. He sprained his foot. He had to leave the game against the Bucks. Now, apparently, he's going to miss some time, which we don't exactly know what that means, but it feels like he's probably going to miss, comfortably a week, and maybe it'll lead through the All-Star break. The Grizzlies get a little bit lucky here with the All-Star break coming up, so hopefully he won't miss that many games. And it sort of is bizarre that Desmond Bane gets hurt literally the moment they upgrade Vince Williams Jr. and Marcus Smart on the injury report. Both of those guys were upgraded to doubtful for the Spurs game on Monday night after being out for the last month, and for some guys for more than a month. So Marcus and Vince with the doubtful designation. Of course, the way the pattern has gone for the Grizzlies, when a player is returning from a long absence, they're doubtful the game before they return. So is it possible that Marcus Smart and Vince Williams Jr. both return on Wednesday against the Raptors and play in a game before the trade deadline? Now, I would have given you very long odds that Marcus Smart played a basketball game before the trade deadline. But if recent history holds up, we could see Vince and Marcus playing before the trade deadline. This is a showcase game for both players, a proof of concept that they're healthy. Now, I don't want to trade Vince Williams Jr. at all. But if the Grizzlies are going to make a significant move, that could be a guy that is enticing to other teams. I don't know if Marcus Smart is possibly going to get traded, but it was notable for us Grizzlies fans seeing those guys get upgraded on the injury report and also finding out Desmond Bane missed the game. Now, the silver lining for Desmond Bane being out is it does kind of postpone the difficult decisions that Taylor Jenkins will have about which players actually play, and it provides the opportunity for other players on your deep squad to shine. Like with no Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard started once again. Now, Luke did not have a big statistical game against the Spurs, but guess what? The Grizzlies are now 5-0 this season when Luke Kennard starts. But no Desmond Bane means, all right, we can play some other guys. Scottie Pippen Jr. can get a little bit longer run. Also, JJ Jackson can get a huge opportunity, and JJ Jackson came through with a season-high 27 points. JJ had 47 points coming into the game. JJ, in his first 7 games of the season, had made 16 field goals. He made 11 against the Spurs. So JJ has a huge game, maybe with the opportunity provided with no Desmond Bane. But maybe even more important, we should talk about, Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren had 31 points against San Antonio. He posted back-to-back 30-point games on a literal back-to-back. He dropped 37 on Giannis and the Bucks on Sunday, and then dropped 31 on Wemby and the Spurs. Jaren has beaten the Spurs in 13 straight regular season games. I wonder how his dad, Jaren Jackson Sr., feels about that, who was a longtime Spurs player. This was Jaren's 31st 30-point game. He now passes Pau Gasol to have the third most 30-point games in franchise history. He still trails Sharif Abdur-Rahim, who has 34 games scoring 30 or more, and also Ja Morant, who has 59. And Ja's game in this one, simply magnificent. He did not look like a player returning from injury. By the way, Ja Morant in his career averages 28 points and 8 assists against the Spurs. 15 career games for Ja. He's shooting 53% against the Spurs, averaging 28 points and 8 assists per game. In this one, like I said, 25 points, 11 assists. He scored 14 points in the first quarter. He made three-pointers. He started off the game by draining threes, and then for the rest of the game, put together a passing highlight package that would make Jason Williams proud. He also blew a highlight opportunity in the first quarter. It was kind of funny, where it seemed like he didn't really want to go up for a big dunk and then just hit the underside of the rim. Also, JJ Jackson's game. JJ's first attempt of the game, he missed a very makeable, for him, it seemed easy, a very makeable alley-oop attempt. Then he bricks a three. Then he gets super hot. Actually, go back to JJ Jackson. The way JJ Jackson scored his 27 points, the moves that he makes driving towards the basket are sublime. For me, that is the ideal JJ Jackson. I mean, he's a play finisher. We know we need him to defend hard. We need him to rebound hard. Like everybody on the team, he needs to be a willing and above-average passer. But like JJ is a scorer, and he gets maybe carried away shooting three-pointers. He made 4 out of 9 in this one, but like he's not a good three-point shooter, at least not yet. But what he is really good at is driving towards the bucket, using Euro steps, using his huge physical frame to knock guys out of the way. The collection of drives towards the basket in this game he made and completed were so good. Powering through Keldon Johnson, blowing by guys for dunks off the dribble in the half court. That is the amazing JJ Jackson. When he makes the three-pointers, I mean, I guess that's just sort of icing on the cake. I mean, he needs to make the three-pointers. Even with making 4 out of 9 threes in this one, he's still shooting a very terrible percentage. It's early in the year. By the way, I made a prediction in the preseason where I thought there was going to be some correlation between the Grizzlies' winning percentage and Ja Morant and JJ Jackson's three-point percentage. Okay, that prediction was completely wrong. Absolutely doesn't matter at all because JJ Jackson hasn't played. Doesn't really matter if Ja makes his threes or not. More important for the Grizzlies, other guys making threes. But in this game, Ja and JJ combined to go 8 for 14 from the three-point line. The Grizzlies are not going to lose very frequently when those guys make all their three-pointers. And then, oh, by the way, like I was saying, Jaren Jackson Jr. with a ho-hum, I'm probably the best player on the court. I'm scoring whenever my team needs it. Now, this game was not the total walk in the park, despite this domination over the Spurs that the Grizzlies have had over the past several years. The Spurs got up early, then the Grizzlies used a huge 19-0 run, in the second quarter to take the lead. They built up a 21-point lead, but then the Spurs closed the first half. They had their own 12-0 run, and then for most of the third quarter, the Spurs stayed within about 10 points, 8-point game, 9-point game, 10-point game, and it wasn't until Ja Morant and Zach Edey checked back in the fourth quarter with about 9 minutes left that the Grizzlies powered this 10-2 run to really put the game away. I mean, maybe the Grizzlies weren't at risk of losing this one. I was on edge. I mean, I know we got great performances from Ja. We got great performances from Jaren Jackson Jr., GG Jackson. Like I said, Zach Edey had a whale of a game. Zach Edey was 16 points, 14 rebounds, 3 steals, and a block. So you got a huge game from all these guys. It's still at times to not feel like the Grizzlies were clicking on all cylinders. And maybe that's just my own nervousness as a fan, thinking that we weren't up by enough playing this Spurs team, getting worried. What if the Spurs actually start making some three-pointers? So maybe I'm wrong there, but it didn't feel like everything was completely clicking. But maybe it's because, again, you're playing not your normal players. No Desmond Bane. You weren't accustomed to that. Also, in the first half, it was a rather sloppy game. There was a hilarious sequence. I'm hosting a watch party. I was hosting a watch party in Nashville. And, of course, it was a little awkward at the watch party for the long delay for the start of the game with the medical emergency with the fan at FedEx Forum. But then once the game started, there were a lot of turnovers in the first half. The teams combined for 25 turnovers in the first half. But there was this sequence where, like, they're just batting the ball around. People are kicking it. They're diving on the floor. There also were all those missed dunks. I already mentioned the Ja and the GG missed dunk. Keldon Johnson missed a big dunk. So it felt a little bit sloppy and ragged in the first half. Eventually, it settled down and the Grizzlies did take over. So maybe I'm just being too picky about the aesthetics of the victory. But Grizzlies get the big win. And also, let's talk a little bit more about Zach Edey with the 16 points and 14 rebounds. Edey putting together very impressive back-to-back games. Even with this really good Zach Edey game, I still thought it was interesting. They did not start Zach Edey in the second half. Santi Aldama got the second half start. I believe that was a strategic decision to space out the Spurs defense, to try to space out Victor Wembanyama so he couldn't stay close towards the basket. Even that big run in the second quarter, Zach Edey was not out on the court for most of it. That was largely a Jaren Jackson Jr. and Santi Aldama front court pairing. Also, it was the bench guys. I mean, you credit Jake LaRavia, John Conchar got in the game. All of those players really contributed a lot. I mean, also, a story of the game, the Grizzlies bench, which has been a strength of the team all year, but there's not a single player who got in that you would, I think, criticize their performance. I mean, Conchar, with no Brandon Clark, so Brandon Clark missed the game as well as Desmond Bane. Conchar was your 10th guy in the rotation. He contributes 3 assists, 3 rebounds. His only attempt was a fast break layup. Jake LaRavia was great. Jake LaRavia set a career high with 4 steals. By the way, the Grizzlies had a season high, 17 steals. The Grizzlies had 32 points off of turnovers. Meanwhile, the Spurs only had 8. The Grizzlies did a reasonably good job of taking care of the basketball, just 15 turnovers per game. But the cool thing about that is the Grizzlies had 11 turnovers in the first half, meaning only 4 turnovers in the second half. But like GG Jackson, he matched his career high with 3 steals. He also matched his career high with 4 turnovers. But the entire bench, Scottie Pippen Jr., huge impact on the game. Scottie Pippen Jr. was part of the closing lineup of sorts. I mean, the bench played so well that Jalen Wells and Luke Kennard did not sub back in the fourth quarter. They didn't get back in because the bench was playing great and the lead was growing. You didn't need to put them back in. You had Ja and Edey come in with 9 minutes left, and you go on a little run, specifically powered by Ja and Edey 2-man game. Then Jaren checks in, and the lead's growing, so Jalen and Luke never get back in the basketball game. By the way, Jake's total stats for the game, 6 points to go with that career-high 4 steals, also 3 assists and 7 rebounds. Scottie Pippen Jr., again, massive impact game. This back-to-back, you had awesome performances in both games from Jaren, from Zach Edey, and also Scottie Pippen Jr. He keeps making an impact on the game with his defensive pressure, his harassment of the other team's ball handlers. Also, he's so good at getting by his man on offense, and that's just been a huge asset these last 2 games specifically. And I got to say, just when I felt like I was starting to get clarity on which players were going to be bumped out of the rotation when the team was fully healthy, I lose it because Pippen played so well these last 2 games. So Pippen finishes 11 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. As far as the other players and their stats, Santi, despite getting that second half start, despite making both of his 3-point attempts, he only finished with 6 points and 6 rebounds, had 1 assist. A mostly quiet game from Jalen Wells in the start. In his 22 minutes, he had 2 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist. Meanwhile, in garbage time, the fans got what they wanted. Yuki Kawamura checked in, picked up an assist. Also, Zion Pullen made his Grizzlies debut after playing for the Hustle earlier on Monday. Zion got in for the final 50 seconds. Also, Jay Huff, who has fallen out of the rotation, got a little bit of mop-up duty in this game. And the Grizzlies have now won 9 of 10. They've won 6 straight at home. They're 21-5 at home. They have moved 1.5 games ahead of the Rockets. The Rockets lost to the Knicks on Monday night. Fred VanVleet has been banged up, missing games. Alperen Şengün has been missing games. So the Rockets are 5-5 in their last 10. That's helped the Grizzlies build this 1.5 game lead. Reminder, of course, the Rockets have the tiebreaker over the Grizzlies this season. But right now, as the Grizzlies head into the trade deadline, things are obviously looking up. Now, the next game, Wednesday night, an earlier tip for us in Central Time, 6 p.m. start against the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have been good of late. The Raptors have won 6 of their last 7 games. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. Do not overlook the Toronto Raptors. They're playing very tough right now. But that game, of course, we will be monitoring. One, to find out an actual Desmond Bane injury update. I'm assuming, based on what they said, he's not going to play and he's going to miss a week or more. But we're monitoring, does Marcus Smart play? We're monitoring, does Vince Williams Jr. play? And we're monitoring the entire roster. And even though Luke Kennard did not have a good game, statistically, only scoring 2 points, missing all 3 of his 3-point attempts against the Spurs, Luke Kennard's been great over the last month. Meanwhile, a lot of your preseason hopes were based on Vince Williams Jr. having a big role. They still have never gotten a look at Marcus Smart. And maybe they even feel some hesitation about making some kind of trade at the trade deadline based on the fact that maybe trading for Dorian Finney-Smith might not have worked out that great. I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith is still a good role player who has good size, good perimeter defender, fits in nicely on the roster, and maybe it gave you some clarity about playing time for your guards. But with the way Luke Kennard has played, specifically since that trade went down, maybe you feel like you dodged a bullet and you'd rather have Luke Kennard around. I don't know the answer, and I don't even know what to theorize about for the Grizzlies and what moves they could make. There are other smaller contract, younger players that I'm intrigued by. But to be convinced they're going to be a better fit than Vince Williams Jr. when he comes back, they're going to be a better fit than Gigi Jackson when Gigi Jackson scores like he did in this last game, I don't know if that's going to be the right answer to make a move. As far as a big splash, I guess it's notable as we monitor the rest of the NBA. Cam Johnson has been ruled out for the Nets game on Wednesday. So, he's not going to play. Cam Johnson is not going to play up until the trade deadline. It sounds like the Nets are holding him out specifically. Yes, he had an injury, I believe a sprained ankle, but they've been holding him out, looks like, up until the trade deadline. There's a report that the Suns are interested in trading Kevin Durant. Not maybe interested is the wrong word. They're open to it. Are we going to see Jimmy Butler forcing his way to the Suns sending Kevin Durant maybe to the Warriors, and then the Suns also get back picks, young players, a Kuminga, a Moses Moody, someone good from the Heat, whatever the Heat can throw in to entice that? Could we see a three-way deal there? If that happens, are the Grizzlies able to swoop in and grab an Andrew Wiggins if that's some matching salary that gets involved? I mean, a lot of things are going to happen, I'm pretty sure. I think with the Luka Doncic trade, with the De'Aaron Fox trade, I don't think the fireworks are over, and it'll be extremely intriguing to monitor exactly what goes down. But with that, I think we can wrap up today's episode. I hit, I believe, all of the points I needed to make. Grizzlies, again, right now are 34-16. Of course, they are trending up. Do they make a move? Do they disrupt the chemistry they have? Do they short circuit maybe the development of some younger players to try to get maybe a better player in the immediate? I don't know. It's hard decisions. We will just wait and see what happens. Anyways, if you want to support my show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you have a business that wants to reach men who live in Tennessee / the southeast of the United States, reach out to me. I have a lot of impressions that hit those people, that hit that demographic. I'm looking for a sponsor, preferably non-gambling. So hit me up. Most of my social media accounts, you can message me over there. Anyways, hope y'all have a great Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.